Welcome, fellow last placers, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about comic books, movies, and anime. And on today's episode, we are finally going to do the anime part because the last time we spoke about anime was actually the show we're going to talk about when we talked about Demon Slayer, the Mugen Train. So we are going to give you guys our wrap up on season 2 of Demon Slayer, their entertainment district. And before we get into that, we are going to start debrief the same way we always do by shaming Yendi. So, shame. And this is a
Shame.
Tanjiro shame that you're going to get, Yendi, because you don't watch any of the content that we watch. I mean, it's a friendly shame because how could you not, like, look at that
Look
face?
at that face.
It's just so like, we're going to get more into Tanjiro later. But, um, and as always, guys, if you like the content, please like, share, comment, do all that good stuff. We are, as a time of the recording of this video, still 10 subs away from giving away that Still Series 3 wireless mouse. So if you want to enter for a chance to win, go ahead and hit that sub button, tell a friend, do all that good stuff. And then if you guys have any comments about, the show and stuff, let us know. If you guys want to be a guest, hit us up. We'll be talking about a bunch of the pop culture stuff. So yeah, we'll love to have you guys on. And as always, there are going to be spoilers on this one. So if you guys have not watched any of this yet, please skip
What are you doing?
or wait, come back once you did finish watching it. But if you don't care about spoilers, then watch along and enjoy. So let's get into it. Season 2, Chris, of Demon Slayer. Let's get into it because there is a lot to talk about, more so on the second half of the season than there is on the first half, because as traditional anime do, they just set us up. We did, and this is the good thing about Demon Slayer, right? Because Demon Slayer did give us a continuity movie. So I know for some, what they did was actually they broke Mugen Train down into some episodes on Crunchyroll,
Jerks.
I believe. Yeah, I mean they did it smart for the people who hadn't watched it, which is, I understand, because again, you do have to, when you do have a continuity movie, you do have to catch the people up who didn't go watch the movie, even though you should go watch the movie because we love movie theaters and it's just a great experience to watch, especially anime movies, because people who are going to watch anime movies are fans of the anime. Like it's not like, a Spider-Man movie where it's just like, oh, I'm just a fan of Spider-Man. This is people who are watching the content for anime movies, and they're becoming really a lot more popular now. So I do think that it's definitely worth watching in the theater. But they did break it down into episodes if you didn't watch. But if you guys want to watch our review on that, you can go back to that video, which we did talk about that. So go check that out. But season 2 takes off right after they get off the train. The first couple of episodes of season 2 essentially is them, getting back to health as most animes do, and then we meet the new the new we meet a new Hashara, which is one of my favorites, which is Tengen. And we meet him in a funny way, obviously, have us all laughing because that whole scene where they're just like, he's like, I need 3 girls for this mission, and then he just takes the butterfly house girls, and everyone's like, no. And then, like, you see also another great thing about the beginning of season 2, before I get there, is obviously Tanjiro lost. Again, this is a spoiler for the movie. We did say spoilers already. Tanjiro again loses his sword. So he shows up to the butterfly house, and the first thing that happens is Hatoto coming after him in a great scene, because every scene that Hatoto's in is, to me, is hilarious because like he just slowly pulls out the knife. Like, you know what I mean? And then gets instantly upset. And then you see Tanjiro just running for his life because this man really cares about his weapons. So don't, like, I remember watching the movie, and I remember when we did the review, as soon as I saw Tanjiro throw the sword, I was like, oh boy, he's like, we knew at some point he was going to get in trouble for this, because now that's the second sword he lost. So, but yeah, we had that fun moment going into season 1. I mean, season 2, I apologize. But going into that, seeing all that good stuff basically, and then they go on to a mission, which is the entertainment district, and that's pretty much where we're going to start our review. So, Chris, let's talk about the entertainment district.
It was alright.
Huh?
I said it was alright.
Yeah,
It's mediocre.
You can't even say it with a straight face. That no one can say it with a straight face.
It was fantastic. It was great. Yeah, it was. One, the demons have gotten. They get creepier. I don't think anything's beaten the spider one though. The spider one, it lives in my nightmares from the woods.
Well, yeah, but
and
you
that
don't
one
like
was any
spiders,
too.
so-
Oh, I'll never.
Yeah.
But yeah, the entertainment district was dope, bro. Them going, them one having a culture shock. All three of these guys have come from very small villages and didn't know that this kind of stuff existed. So when they get to the entertainment district, they're just like, "What is going on? Why is it so bright? It looks like daytime. Like, what's happening?" It was really cool to see. Also, the what was it? Tengen kills me because of the fashion sense. Like all he can, if
flashy ninja, okay,
if you're going to lose, you need to be
flashy.
flashy. As long as you're flashy, it's okay. You did your best.
Okay, you did your best as long as you're flashy. He is listen again. He is one of my favorites of the Hashiras because like he's again. I love the irony and the play of words that he does because he is essentially a ninja, right? But he also wears like jewelry, so like he's loud, but you can actually never hear him. So like not only is he that good to wear jewelry, be the fastest one that you can't hear him, but like this man is also a ninja like, at the end of the day. And who can forget he has 3 wives.
Yeah, he made that.
That's not flashy.
He made that a point in Inosuke. Inosuke, this is the guy that Inosuke wants to be because like by the end of the season, he's just like he's quoting him. He's like we're gonna win this. He's like, and I'm gonna do it flashy too. Like he starts saying that, and then I notice I'm like, oh, this is
the god of festivals.
Yeah, yeah. So Inosuke really wants to be him. Like he's like, okay, this is the guy I hope to be. But you get to see the darker side of the entertainment district. Women getting sold into these houses for male entertainment and basically used as objects. And this season had a lot of dark moments, but they did a really good balance of making it funny. Like the fighting scene at the end. Even in the darkest time, they were able to crack a joke, and I thought it was funny. It just took you out for a second, made you laugh, and then you're right back in it. So overall, the season was great. I can't wait to see what happens next, especially with the demon we saw at the end, because it's his time. It's time to get smacked up, and it's time to get that revenge, and I'm waiting for it. So, what did you think of the season overall?
I mean, overall, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know how to pronounce this studio's name. It's UFO. It's like you.
Wait, who?
UFOTABLE. UFO. I always say it wrong, but the animators of this show, I mean, they deserve every award you can possibly think of.
Insane.
And I apologize for butchering your name. I will get it right the next time I talk about you guys because I will listen to it because I always say it wrong because it's just spelt weird and then the UFO kind of throws me away. So, but the animation on this was just phenomenal. And I know you can tell like the first couple of episodes, what they do well. And some people criticize them for this, but what they do well is you do see some scenes where they did cheat the animation, like the scenes where like Nezuko is like kind of like she just looks like a little ball with eyes and like making a reaction.
Yeah,
but they do a good job at like showing that as a reaction towards something. So like what they're using it for, and like when they get mad, like their bodies turn small and then their heads turn big, but like that's natural anime stuff. But they save all of that like money for those talking episodes so that their fight scenes and any fight scenes that involve where you're going to want to see this grand animation being involved is all high quality stuff. So before we even get into any of the fight scenes, it's just they set up that world that makes it look good. But so I don't ever criticize them when they're like, oh well, they're cheating the animation on there. It's like for what we get later on in the seasons and later on in those shows, like it's totally worth the little cheating of the the animation. I don't care. This is literally I mean, as a person who read the manga, and I don't want to get in too much into like the story of the manga, like even seeing it, knowing what was going to happen in the show, like knowing exactly what was going to happen, you're still surprised on how great it looks
Yeah.
because it just looks so good. It looks so clean. The fight scenes look amazing. All of them do. So that's the first thing I wanted to give them credit to. Again, this show does a really good job, like you said. It does the good with the balancing the funny and the serious. Because when the show's funny, it's really funny. When the show is serious, it's really serious. And like the good thing about this show and watching it from a point of like just knowing the anime and not knowing anything from the manga, if you didn't like, you don't know what's going to happen next. So they put those cliffhangers purposely because it draws you in. So a lot of people that I know who only watch the anime are like, I can't wait for the next episode because I need to know what happens. And you don't feel cheated in the sense of like you didn't get enough action because even in the 23-minute episodes, you get a lot of action in some of these scenes. And it's not like the Dragon Ball Z scenes, like, and that's a bad comparison because it's so old, but like you're not getting like a scene where one person's like doing an attack for 3 episodes, right? So I think it's good for a lot of people who just want to start off an anime watching Demon Slayer like season one because it is a heartwarming story. Also, I mean, you have your sister, like a sister, and turns into a demon, and it's about family and friendships and stuff like that. But they still are really smart in how they deliver their messages and how they do them. So, getting into the details of the season, I mean, obviously the one good thing that I love about Demon Slayer that they do so well is that they pace their character strengths. And as a person who loves anime, that is so important to me for you to be able to pace how strong a character gets so that you can make the scenes work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you don't want characters to get too strong and not be able to fight, have those struggles within a fight. Like imagine we saw when they started fighting Daki, how they were struggling. Nezuko had to come out as always. They all needed help. You know what I mean? And then it just escalated, right? It just kept escalating because it was like, okay, Tanjiro does his rage mode. We see him go into rage mode for the first time, where he's just not breathing and he is just doing flame strikes as if it doesn't even like cost anything on his body. So seeing rage mode for the first time was excellent. You know what I mean? And then he finally gets caught up and it's like, and then he gets told by the little brother, breathe because he just like is about to die,
Yeah.
like, essentially die if he doesn't. Right. So I love that they always put Tanjiro in moments that he has to like pull back a little bit, right? Because remember, even in the Mugen Train, when he's basically getting caught with the essentially a genjutsu, if you watch Naruto, but every time he gets put to sleep and he had to do the kill himself, like to come back, you know what I mean?
Man,
Like
I
he's
forgot about
always
that. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude,
Ooh.
it's lit. Listen,
Yeah, yeah.
Mugen Train is something like if you just watch that last 30 minutes, it's just a joy every single time because it's so good also. But yeah, but he, they always put him in nice struggles where he's always struggling because he always wants to be strong for everyone, right? But he's also has limitations with his body, and they always put him in such good situations to where you see that struggle of him wanting how far can he push without his body like breaking down. You know what I mean? And I feel like Mugen Train did a really good job, and this season did an excellent job as we get further into talking about it. But it did so good to show that like, oh, he's strong and he has all these powers, but guess what? His body is not going to let him do all that stuff.
Yeah. And the fact that in the back of his head he didn't want to see he doesn't want to see death anymore. He's just like, I need to be in here every time the biggest moments happen. I always end up passing out. And he does say that where he's just like, I'm gonna make it to the end this time, no matter what. And that was the main goal. He's like, if I die in this fight, I'm going to be awake. I'm gonna be here all the way to the end of it.
Yeah,
Which was
and
badass. I was like, oh man, that's a great
Tanjiro's
moment.
such a great character
Yeah,
because
man.
again, they do a really good job at him just being like that shining, like it doesn't still feel too like it doesn't feel too Boy Scouty, right?
Yeah.
So like it feels like yes, he is doing what it, but the way that he's doing it is just like it's so heartwarming, right? Like really, he really wants to just find a cure for his sister, right? Like, and that's a lot of things that you tend to forget in all the cool moments. Like it's really just finding a cure for his sister. It just so happens that he has to fight upper rank demons in order to get there. Not that he's saying that he hasn't fully accepted being a demon slayer, because by the end of this season, you could tell like being a demon slayer is what he wants to do. But remember, like he started this journey because he wanted to find a cure for his sister, you know? Speaking of his sister, Nezuko releases her upper demon strength, and you know, Nezuko's just badass because when she goes demon, like when she goes real, like she just has one move, but boy, does that one move is it effective. That kick is no joke. Like she is kicking body parts off. She don't care what's going on. But we saw it go too far for the first time. We did see her actually try to feed on a human because she was too far gone. And then Tanjiro,
Well, you see the change there too. Whenever she's stomping out, what's her name?
Daki.
Yeah, when she starts stomping around and she starts smiling,
Yeah,
that's the moment that you know, like, oh shoot. And then she starts laughing, and I was like, oh man, she's like getting into it. And yeah, that moment where she sees the blood on that person, I was just like, oh no.
yeah, because she was going too far. She realized, and then also again, and this is the thing that is so great about Tanjiro, because he needed her help, right?
Yeah.
But he also has to realize that like she has to go to such like exerting like so much of her, especially when she goes into fully awakened mode, like she has to exert so much of her energy, but also we see what that does to her, and it brings her back. But then he uses a song from his mother to bring her back into being normal. Then she goes back to sleep.
It's a painful moment. And she shrinks too. She shrunk in size.
She shrinks. Well, she grows up when she goes into
Grows
fully
up, yeah,
awakened
and
mode.
then the fact that that moment when she cries, right?
Yeah.
She goes, she's crying. It's this very touching moment. She throws her tantrum and then whoop, 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 and then she just passes out, sleep. And he's like, it's Tanjiro sitting there like, okay, okay, cool. Put her back in the box.
So that whole fight scene was just, that was like the first major of the fight scenes that we saw, which was again amazing. Inosuke and Zenitsu weren't there for that because they were actually trying to get Tengen's wives out of the
but also
bands,
they were trying to get them trying to get to the fight. I felt bad for Inosuke because he's just like, bro, like I'm trying to be in this. Where is this happening?
Well, Inosuke, he wanted to fight. Like, that's what he wants to do, right? He wants to get in there. He wants to start fighting, and he finds the layer.
Yeah.
Essentially, it just wasn't Daki just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So they end up fighting like these bands, and I forget what he calls the thing, like worm something. He calls
he's like worm woman or something like that. He just calls her that.
And then obviously, the goat shows up, Tengen, and then he handles that really quickly, which he was just like, it's always, like I said, it's always funny to see. I love when anime does that right? Because they're not supposed to be stronger than Tengen. So just by showing Tengen handle that situation just rather
within
quickly,
seconds, yeah.
Within seconds, it's just like, okay, well, this makes sense. Like,
well, that's why like my favorite moment with him, and I laughed out loud whenever this happened. But she's about to, it's that moment where like after Ducky gets stomped out and everything, she's walking down the hallway, which super creepy by the way. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna kill them. And he just kind of shows up. And she's like talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, you're not even the higher ranked demon I'm looking for." He's like, "Just shut up," basically. And then she's like, "Oh, you're gonna talk to me like," and then her head falls.
Yeah.
And then I literally went, "Huh?" The same time she does.
Yeah.
I
Because he does
was
it
laughing so
fast.
hard. Yeah. Oh man, it
Yeah.
was great. I was like, this is badass. And then the fact that that was the comedy moment. So like it was a darker scene. People were getting killed, and she was angry, and like close to the end of the episode where he's like, "Oh my God, you're still talking? You lost.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
lost." And
Yeah.
she's like, "I didn't lose. I'm still an upper rank." And he's just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, is she crying now?" Like throwing a temper. And that whole moment was just
Yeah, it
like,
was
"What's
so good.
happening? What's
Mhm.
going
And
on?" It
of
was
course,
so
we all
good.
know that wasn't the end, but what we didn't expect, well, some people did not expect, was that we were going to get another demon, upper rank demon, because the upper rank demons are actually, there's two
Hmm.
upper six demons. So her brother shows up, and before we get into their backstory, which is towards the end, which, listen, if you watched that and didn't feel bad, I don't. But Gitoro shows up, obviously the opposite looking of his sister, where he looks more naturally like a demon, right?
Hmm.
Like he's got the scarred face, he's got the badass scythes, which if you guys know me, scythes are my favorite weapons. And he's my favorite upper demon because he has scythes. So but he shows up, and then you could tell that's when, and it's a good point that you bring up where that was the comic relief, but once Gutoro shows up, the the mood of the show
It
and the
just
tone
draw.
of
Yeah.
the show, it really comes down.
Yeah.
Like it really comes down because you can tell, like even Tengen is like he's feeling that presence. You know, Tanjiro, they're all kind of like, wait a second, there's two upper rank demons, and this one feels like he's the one that's the master, the plant, like the person behind it all, right? So he shows up, and then, like I said, the tone of that series completely changed because that happens around episode 5 or 6, right? If I'm not mistaken. But that happens around the mid-season episode.
7 actually. No, yeah, 7.
No, it's
Episode 7.
yeah. Is it 6 or 7?
He shows up way later on,
Yeah, I know, but I
surprisingly.
think, well, yeah. So around that episode, you guys will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, once that shows up, the tone of the show changes, and now we see the fight that we see the fights, the series of fights that come up that are probably some of the best animation that you're ever gonna see. Honestly, at the point that we are in now, to see so many things, and I remember at this point a lot of energy, and they've used a lot of energy. Like Tanjiro has done, full rage mode, so he's tired. He's pushing his body to the complete limit. We haven't seen the other guys yet, so we don't know what's going on with them yet. But we can see that Tengen is now having to actually fight. Like he's actually having to do moves that like to counter, and we can tell the speed. And you know, Kotoro is acting like, oh, this ain't nothing. Like he's just like, oh, you're pretty good. Like you must have had a great life because you're so good looking.
And that's
And
his
then
background too, was that he had envy and jealousy towards others who lived a better life than him, and that's what fueled him. And that whole as soon as he's like, "Yeah, I have 3 wives,"
yeah,
and like that put the flame to the gas where he's just like,
mm,
"You have 3 wives?"
yeah.
Yeah.
That seemed to trigger a lot of people
Yeah,
too.
it
I
was just
felt like that was a bit of information that Tengen could have left out because I feel like he triggered a bunch of people every time he said that line. Like every time
oh,
he did the mention of him having 3 wives, people were like, you know what, dude? Like, I don't like you. But again, and he does, Tengen at the beginning does definitely show off that, like that, the douchier of the that, like he
yeah, it
does
took a
show
while
like
for
a
me. It took
very,
me a little bit to
takes you
like
a
him
little while to
because I
to,
was
to
like,
like him.
dude, this guy.
But
Like,
then when he starts, you can see he starts actually having the care for the main group, the for Inosuke and all of them, and you could tell he's starting to have that. And then I loved the scene when they show him and they show him and Kujodo, Ren Goku. They
yeah.
show him like the side is that like they're like you can see Tengen walking, and then you see Kojudo like right behind him,
Mm.
and it's just like because that's what Tanjiro is seeing. Like he's like, oh, like there's so much similarities in the both of them. Like what I mean. So it kind of motivated him to like push himself to the limit even more because then we start again at this point. the show gets wild. Like the fight scene again, probably some of the best animation you ever see. We see Zenitsu go ham in Thunder, like in
Changed
Form
voice,
One,
deep voice.
deep voice. He's like a combat ready, like he knows like combat strategies. Him and Inosuke are fighting, and then so the whole fight scene goes. We see the wives show up to try to help Tengen, and they use the poison, which they actually works on the demons, but the poison also hit Tengen, which I thought that scene was really dope when she just shows up and then she just tosses all those shurikens,
Yeah.
and then he kind of like you know. But then we find out that there's a big thing with with these two demons is that their heads need to be cut off simultaneously because we saw some of the heads get cut off. We saw
I was getting
Baku's head get
annoyed.
cut off.
I was
Yeah,
getting annoyed. By the third time, I was like, this bitch needs to go. Oh my
because
God.
they kept catching her. They kept
Oh,
catching
every
her.
time. And she's like, it happened again. I'm like, I'm sure. One, I felt bad for the brother because it's like, bro, step up, please. Like, what am I going to do?
Something. Help me out here. We're trying to win. But the ways that it happened was very great, especially the Inosuke when he does the pretty much the football when he like footballs her head.
Oh my
But
God.
like
But the
when he,
moment
like,
before that,
literally
too,
just grabs it
I-
and then he's just like
I like the flailing arms that he always does. So we saw it in Lungeon Tray, or how do you pronounce it?
Mugen
Yeah.
Tray.
We see it there when he's crying. He flails his arms a lot. So in this one, that's only when he shows the highest emotion. That's what I'm noticing. So he's like, okay, they're about to cut off this dude's head. I need to get to her. And he starts getting flustered. And then you see him just, like full on charge in. And that's when Zenitsu's like telling him to calm down. And he realizes Zenitsu's like on a different level than
it's a
he is
different
right now.
person, too. Like,
Yeah.
and he also notices that it's a different person. He
Yeah.
doesn't know why he's sleeping. And the funniest thing about Zenitsu is that damn nose booger bubble.
Yeah.
Like, why does he have that?
Yeah.
Like, I know he's sleeping, but that's a good way for like a good little trick for that the animators do. But you see both of their power, right? And you see that the training that they did in the beginning of the season really helped them out. Like they really got stronger from this. It was so good to see that. And then he does the technique where he essentially just, he's cutting their heads off.
The
And,
sawing
like,
thing made me clench my teeth a little bit too. I was like,
'cause
oh, like
yeah, but again, it was just like a band, so it didn't feel like as bad as it does later on. Because
Yeah.
then I know that part, what happens later on, which we'll get into, that part was kind of like because of the sound effects, and we'll get into that. But he then grabs her head like a football, and then he's like, just run away, like gut as far as you can. But of course, Gotoru shows up and stabs him, and
In the
cliffhanger
chest.
of that episode was
Yeah.
really hard to take because it really looked like they were down and out. Like everything kind of like the building they were on blows up. Like Zenitsu pushes like Tanjiro, and you're just like, dude, not like.
And the
come on,
credits come up, like you see the
I know.
explosion, and then the music plays,
like,
and
he
then the
says, "I'm
credits come up,
sorry."
and I was like,
like no, but he says I'm sorry. Like when as he's doing.
oh
this,
yeah.
And then you're just like, what? Like it can't end like that. So obviously it doesn't, because we know there's more to go. But yeah, so that scene was really like that cliffhanger was really good. Then we get into again, everything looks like it's doomed. Everyone looks like they're getting whooped, and then Tanjiro gets his fingers broken, which if you think it couldn't get any worse.
Well, that
it
whole
does.
scene of him like, oh, like you're a brother and you're supposed to protect yourself, like just him, like just bullying him basically.
Yeah.
And you find out later on that's how he was treated, and he was just giving it back.
Yeah.
And you see that whole scene of him just getting kicked around and trash talked. I was like, dude, this is awful.
It was bad. And then Tanjiro person, he's trying to like, his all, and it doesn't help because you see Tengen, he doesn't have an arm, like his arm is off. So like, you know what I mean? And presumably dead. And that's the good thing, like I said, about Demon Slayer that they do. You, as a people who've just watched the anime and didn't read the manga, at that moment, everyone believed that he was dead. And the reason why you believe that is because when you watch Mugen Train, you know that it's possible for one of them to die.
Yep.
So once that's stuck in your brain, it sets up the next, like, anyone can die. And I love that about Demon Slayer because it leaves you on the edge because you don't know if the person's actually alive. Like, you have no clue. And I love that so much. So you genuinely think he's dead, like, unless I've read it, because you haven't read it, Chris. So I
No, no,
know
I was gonna
that
buy. I really want to buy them all,
well,
but
I
I
mean,
feel like I don't want to ruin
you
it for
can.
myself.
It's up to you. Look, I know everything that's gonna happen, and it's still amazing. But as a person who hasn't read, like, did you feel that he was dead in that scene?
I did, but at the same time, because of the train, I was just like I was actually gonna be a little upset because I'm like, every time we fight, every time we face a upper demon, are the three gonna get away with it, and then the guy who's supposed to be the strongest die? Like, I was gonna be upset. So I'd rather be like, I was like, in my head, even though Inosuke is probably one of my favorites, I said that if he didn't get, like, if Tengen didn't get up, then Inosuke better not get up, because I was like, there's no way, there's no chance that would happen. So
Inosuke had a great reason.
yeah, so I was just like, he would have been the perfect heartbreak for that season. It would have sucked. I would have been super upset, but I could understand, and like, writing, I was just like, okay, this would be like, okay, we need to take something from the audience so they can get upset, because, as we see with with that other demon, Akaza, like, everybody hates him right now. So, like, you just want that shot. So yeah, that's why in that moment I was just like, maybe he's blacked out. I did have thoughts. I was just like, I always go in thinking like, okay, he's not dead, and then I always get super surprised. I was like, oh no, wait, he really is dead. Okay, well, that sucks.
Yeah. So that whole scene was obviously dope, and then we see Tanjiro run, trying to basically, like, run and protect himself, and then he hits him with an Oki, because also you see Zenitsu, like, stuck under the thing, but he's still sleeping, and that's the key. He was still sleeping when he was under the
and he's
rubble,
moving.
but it looks so funny.
He looks like a robot. He's just like, yeah, he's stuck underneath.
Where they cheated the animation,
Yeah.
and, like, he just is like this. He just looks like this the whole time, and you're like, what is he doing? Like, so he just does that the whole time, and then you see Daki start talking shit, and then Zenitsu just goes into a full, like, Godspeed, essentially, is what he calls it. And then we see that Tanjiro does a little Oki, hits him with the poison.
Mm-hmm.
He slows down, and then even with the broken fingers, Tanjiro has a chance. Doesn't get it done.
An anime has never made me move out of my seat so much.
Right?
Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, Bosh! Bosh! Like, yelling.
You just because you want it to be over.
Yeah.
Right? You just want it to be over. It doesn't happen. We see him almost get stabbed in the eye, and then, of course, Tengen is not dead.
Yeah.
And if you needed like, the dude has no arm. He has no arm. He has both his weapons,
and one's in his teeth.
Like, he pulls a Zoro from One Piece. Like, he just shows up, and it's just so fast, and he's so hyped because he's figured it out. Like, you know what I mean? And I loved it because you see that expression in his face. Like, he's like, I know what to do now. Like, you know what I mean? And then, like, he just, like, storms in, and then
announces that's what I like. He announces that he's gonna win too.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to win. And then he's like, I can hear your sound. Like, I know how to dodge your techniques. But then you get that badass scene where they're just, like, screaming at each other, and they're fighting at full speed. And it's just like the whole city is like,
yeah.
Like, it was. I saved the GIF of that because it looks so clean. And then they're just both screaming at each other, and they're trying to, get that fight scene. Like, they're trying to, like, win somebody over. We know that Zenitsu's over there. He's pushing through to try to get that speed, enough speed to cut the thing. And then people, like, obviously not everyone forgot about it, Inosuke, but you kind of like, damn, is Zenitsu going to be able to do this? And then finally you see while they're fighting, you see Tanjiro start to get, he essentially gets a second wind, right? He gets that second wind. And then that scene, like I said, if you don't do anything else, just watch the scene when they try to, like, when they finally are able to, like, cut his head off, because you see the scene where you see Gotoro, he's like, no, this can't happen. And then you see literally Tengen get cut in the face. Like, he gets his eye like literally cut off. Like, it it literally flies in the air. And then you see Tanjiro get a scythe straight up the chin. Like, you know what I mean? You see that, then you finally see Inosuke show up. He's gonna go help Zenitsu, and then Tanjiro, and this is the scene I was talking about. Essentially, you get that cut, and then the sound effect of it, it was just, is where you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if he's gonna be able to do it, because again, we saw him not be able to finish it. We know he's a little bit more tired now, but then he goes into full rage again, and then the sound, and then you can see Gotoro's like, he's like, oh no, not by this dude, like, not this dude, you know what I mean? And then you got Tengen just basically giving him that like motivation, like, you can do it. And then they just like, and then you just see them all screaming, like classic animation stuff. And then you just see the sword slashes, which was beautiful. You just slash, and then you just see the heads fly.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, they did it. Like, they did it. And of course, they leave us in a cliffhanger, because then you see Tengen, the heads are on the ground.
Yeah, I had two
and
endings
Tengen's
mixed
like,
up there. Yeah.
it's not over.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and he's actually calling Tanjiro by his last name, like, Komodo, like, move, like, move. And like, he can't, because it just exerted all his energy.
And that,
right?
yeah, that moment where he's just like,
that cliffhanger was like, oh.
but that
man.
moment also is another time that Tanjiro is almost about to cross the bridge of death. Like, he's literally about to cross the other side. In a lot of animes, they show that where they can't hear the other person. They hear their own thoughts,
like,
and they're like,
yeah.
oh, like, what's going on? Oh, he's trying to talk to me. I wonder what he's saying, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh, dude. But yeah, that explosion happening was.
Oh. But it was perfect, because it cuts right into what the end credits look like.
Yeah.
So it like literally goes, it's like, it's not over.
Yeah.
And it's like end credits. And I know at that point, everyone's like, we got to wait a week.
That's
like,
why.
really?
That's why. So we were supposed to go episodically, right? We were supposed to review episodes and stuff like that. I didn't do it.
Supposed to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't do it for this.
Yeah.
All right. And then whenever we thought like, oh, we're just not going to record this, I waited, and then I was like, I'm just going to binge it all. I'm just going to wait, because these cliffhangers are killing me. I can't do it. So I'm glad, because whenever I got to that episode today and I saw it, I was just like, as soon as I queued up the next episode, I was like, I was so happy I did this. I'm so happy.
I'm not, because it's nice to talk about theories and stuff.
I get it, but I was like, for viewership, for you viewers out there, I know there's more like me that are just like, bro, I can't do these cliffhangers anymore. I got to keep going.
So we do get that mean cliffhanger, and that one hurt a lot of people, because there was a lot of memes about that one, and like just people like the sad, like, hype, and then the sad face, because again, like, you do have that in their mind, like, they could die here. Like,
yep.
He can't move. But anyway, we get Nezuko to come out, hits her little blood, her blood demon art,
and her carrying
everyone.
Tanjiro.
Yeah. And then, yeah, she's just like carrying Tanjiro. And then, as Tanjiro always does, we have the redemption. And then we get one of the saddest episodes, where Gotoro and Taki, we find out what their backstory is. We find out why they're the way they are. And like, you
also,
really feel bad.
You feel bad, but also I feel like these are the first demons that, or at least he was the first demon. I think from what I remember, the other demons in those moments, they remember their past life, but they regretted what they did as a demon. They were like, oh crap, like I really messed up, and all this other stuff. But finally, I'm released from this. I felt like he was the only one that was like, if I was a demon, I'd do it again. Like if I could do this again, I would. Like he really hated.
A reason for that. Though.
Exactly, he had so much hate, and I was like, this is crazy.
But what he said was, which was great, was he was saying that, like, I guess I was always meant to be a demon, but Daki, you weren't. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I love. Like, he was like, I don't regret becoming a demon for myself, but he was like, but if I could have changed the way
Your
that
outcome,
you
yeah.
were, upbringing and stuff like that. But then you see all that love that he has for his sister, and it was great when Tanjiro comes in because Tanjiro's like you guys, you don't mean any of that stuff that you're saying. Like they're arguing as demons, but he's like, you don't mean any of that. Like your brothers and sisters, there's no way you guys have that kind of like, you know what I mean? And they didn't, you know what I mean? She cared for him and they know they were saying some hurtful stuff. And then you could see like when they get the choice to split up, she's like, no, like I'm not going anywhere. And then he like carries her, which is like the heartbreaking thing, like through fire and like just being that support. And it was like, damn, that was rough. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But seeing that and then, we see that their whole backstory and how great they articulated that was fantastic. And then we get to, we think Tengen is ready to go. He's ready to give this speech. Nezuko comes in, gives him the healing. He comes back, and then the man does the smartest move. He retires because
He said, hey, hey,
at
she
the
healed me.
end
I'm
of
out.
the
I'm out.
he was like, you know what? This was a little bit, And then you got and Obanai comes in, who's the Serpent Hashira, comes in and he's like, oh well, anyone would be better than no one, even though you have thing. And he's like, no, bro, I'm retiring. And he was like, the person you don't like, he's gonna be Hashira, but I'm done. And that's why I respect Tengen, because he was like, you know what? That was just the rank 6, because Obanai didn't have to mention, oh well, that's the lowest upper demon you could
Yeah,
face.
dude, I
But
was.
like he fought 2 of them, which I think for me equals up to 3, at least a 3. Like, you know what I mean? Because everyone above them is just one person. So I don't understand how you just gonna come out here and be like, oh well, that's the lowest one you could fight. Well, where were you? Huh? Where were you, Obanai? Where were you to show up? You wasn't there. You wasn't fighting in the gym. So you can't
And the
come in
fact that he
here.
was expecting Tanjiro to be dead. He's like, wait, he lived? And I was like,
Yeah.
bitch, you knew they were there. And then the fact that you're like, he
expected all of
lived?
them to be, because I mean, and fair, and I understand that on his part. Like, even though he's being like sly, like, you know what I mean, I do understand that, because if Tengen was in the shape that he was in, you can't expect the
Everybody
dudes
else, yeah.
like, are like levels under him, because even as great as the potential that all of them showed, like the Demon Slayers themselves showed, they weren't even like Tengen could literally fight Gutaro one-on-one.
Mhm.
He could fight him one-on-one, but situations being what they were, he had to, like, you know what I mean, obviously work with what he could. But like, because he had to fight 2 demons, that plays a role into it too. But like, he could fight him if they were like by himself. Who knows who would win? I don't know. But all that stuff was like really dope to see. So seeing him in that position, you're gonna be like, oh no, there's no way those 3 kids who just started demon slaying like 6 months ago survived this. Like, this thing is all like, it's crazy. But again, they don't know about physical power and all that stuff happening. So it was a great way to end the series, though. You then see what's going on. We're gonna see what's next, and then we get back to the Infinity House, and then oh gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Akaza
Mhm.
is there, and he's like, damn, the only reason why we show up here is when when one of us is dead. So
It's time to get that work, son.
Yeah, well, so we know Muzan is calling them upon to like,
Yeah.
hey, look, we just lost someone. He's gonna be upset, because clearly he was upset when they killed a Hashira. Now imagine they didn't kill a Hashira and one of them are dead, so he ain't gonna be happy. So I am
Also,
really
that
excited.
man is smooth. Every time I see him,
Clean.
and he's sitting there, I'm like, woof. Clean. Yeah.
Outfit, the fits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fits be clean. He's just a clean demon, He's a clean demon. He's an evil demon, but he's clean.
Yeah.
Gotta give him that. So yeah, overall though, like we were just saying, that the season just was great. And I mean, I hope they give us another movie. They could if they wanted to. If they don't, that's fine. But I do like having people go out and watch a movie that is continuity, because a lot of anime movies don't do that. A lot of anime movies just give you a side story that has no effect in the story, and Demon Slayer's trying to break that mold,
Yeah.
and they did with Mugen Train. So I hope we get the same thing, because then you can do. You don't want these animes to go on too long. I don't like when they go on too long. Like, I feel like there needs to be a point where you can end it.
One
And
Piece.
well, listen, One Piece is still great though. It has gone on too long, but it's still fantastic. So there's that. But yeah, so I think I'm excited to see where we're gonna go season 3. I already know where we're gonna go season, but I won't mention it. But yeah, so I'm obviously we're gonna have a big recovery time
Yeah,
in the first
I
couple of episodes.
also think he's gonna go see his dad because we forgot to mention. There is a moment where we see not his dad, not Tanjiro's dad, but Rengoku's dad.
Shinjoro's, yeah.
What is it?
Shinjoro.
Syndrome. Yeah,
Shinjoro.
because he sends him a letter saying like, "Hey, I apologize for the way I acted," and you see he's in remorse of who he's become and coming into terms of losing his son. And that was a very touching moment for me whenever I saw that happen. I remember how heartbroken I was at the beginning of the season when he goes and he's like, you see my son when he got killed, he was worthless, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, I knew your son for maybe, was it like 30 minutes of a movie, and it broke my heart.
He was the man.
Yeah, he broke my heart. And then you're just like, nah, he wasn't worth anything. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and then you see him, and I think that's like episode 2 where he just like cries.
Yeah.
At the end, and he's like, you could tell
that was the moment in the show that like, because this show always gets me at one point, and that one when his dad starts crying, I was just like, okay.
But yeah, overall it was just fantastic. Demon Slayer is definitely hitting that. Well, it's already in my it's up there. You know, I'm trying to see. I'm gonna start ranking my animes. But like right now, Demon Slayer is highly cracking the top. Like it's in the top 5, sitting there.
I can give you the top 5 right now for me.
I can't. Don't do that to me. I ain't don't. That's another episode. That's another episode. That is another episode of content when I have some time to think about it, because I have watched a lot of anime. Okay, a lot.
He has.
So I need a little bit more time to circle that up. So we're gonna wrap this one up. Chris, what was your favorite moment of this
That's
season?
tough, man. I can't answer that. Oh man.
Easy. It can only be a few things.
Either when they all do the trip, like whenever Tanjiro decides like, okay, we got to focus on one demon, and they all do their like, their whole moment of all going together. Either that, or the sentimental moment of finding out the demon's life. I always like that moment. My buddy doesn't like the show only because like when they kill the demon, he's just like, oh, like he feels like they should have told the story first and then kill the demon. Oh. Like it's kind of weird. But I like those moments where after it happens, we find out about their life and who they were and everything like that.
The reason why you do that, and I'll tell you why they do that. They do it that way because you're not supposed to sympathize for the demon while they're fighting the demon.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to sympathize for them after you find out, but like they still want you to know what they're doing is bad, but then you can be like, okay, well, now that you're gone, you still had to die for what you did.
Yeah.
But here's the story on why you went this way. So if you do that beforehand, you're just going to feel bad for the demon, and then he's going to get his head chopped off. Like, you know what I mean?
And
like,
the fact that Tanjiro too has that moment of like, you know, if it was anybody else, he would have left the two heads there arguing and bashing each other. And the fact that he goes up and he's like, I'm not saying I'm going to forgive you. Nobody's going to forgive you. Everybody hates you for what you did. But you two only have each other now. And you need to fix that. And I'm just like, wow, that takes a lot of strength to do.
That dude.
Yeah.
He's that dude. But so my favorite moment will be all the fight scenes. I mean, that whole, like I said, the screaming match, just them going super like speed, and just the sound effects, just all of it was just amazing. And then I agree that last episode, seeing the demon's backstory was like really gut wrenching, because you're like, damn, man, they really did them dirty. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way that they treated them, and they didn't need to be treated that way. So you kind of understand why they went that route. You know what I mean? But also, it's just it's a really good way to tie up that story. You know, and Tengen retiring as a smart person that he is was also one of my favorites. So, all right, so that's gonna wrap it up for this one. This was a bit of a longer one. Talk about the whole season. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought of the season. We would love to hear your guys' opinion. So let us know. And hopefully we'll do some more anime stuff. We just gotta find something that we kind of like. Because
Both
Demon Slayer
like.
was easy because we're kind of like both watching it at the same time. So but we do plan on doing a couple of other stuff. I know Chris is watching Arcane, and I know we're gonna be late on that, but I've been dying to talk about that show. So we're
Okay.
definitely doing an episode on that show
Okay.
because I have to talk about how amazing that show is. So we will let you guys know on that. We'll be back next week at some point doing something because we will have content until Moon Knight comes out. So stick around with us. You know, have fun. Let us know. And if you guys, like I said, want to be on here, let us know. So, but besides that, we are out of here. So, Fire Team